Hello viewers, welcome to this lesson. This lesson will be developing a quiz and online quiz app, right? So this is the quiz app we're actually developing. If you look at this quiz app, at the left side of the quiz app is the end time. That's the time the exam is expected to end. At the right side of the quiz app, top right, is the current time. So this current time will keep counting until the end time is equals to the current time. As soon as that is true, this exam will actually end, right? So then this actual quiz, fundamentals of computer. When you click an option, it gives you a color indicating whether it is correct or not. So this color shows that you've picked the wrong answer. And then all other options becoming active. You cannot select any other option, right? So you click on next. So if you pick the correct answer, just like I've done in this, it gives you a green color, right? So which indicate that the answer you actually selected is correct. So any other options is inactive. So you can't select again. You are only experienced to you only give the opportunity to select only once, right? So click on the next button, select, it shows that the answer is wrong. So at the end of the exam, so at the end of the exam, it shows you your score, which means it shows that you scored 1 in this particular quiz. Yeah, we'll use the timing. We'll reduce the timing, the end time to something smaller, the duration of the exam. So we could see how this works, right? When we have actually reached the end time for the exam. Okay, so this is it. This is the exam. Let's see what happens when it gets to the end time. So the exam will end by 10:52, 6:10:52, and this at the right side is our current time, right? So when it gets to 6:10:50, let's see what happens. Right, so you see, this tells you your exam has ended, right? So we're going to design this using HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript, right? So join me as we dive into coding of this project. And all right, so to start, let's create our quiz file, our HTML file for our quiz. I'm going to call it, let me create a folder so we don't mix it with other projects. So I'm going to call this folder quiz, right? All right, so in this folder, so just for clarity's sake, I want this folder alone to be open on VS Code, right? So we have our quiz app. We have our quiz folder up, all right? Let's create our HTML file for our quiz. Call it quiz.html, right? Okay. So this is our quiz app. And so so this is our quiz app HTML5, right? So I want to create a div, right? Our quiz app, right? So you can see, if you look at it, the layout, you can see we have a parent div where this background image is. Then we also have another div that houses our questions and answers. Then we have our answers. We have these timers, right? So let's take it gradually. So this div is the outer div. I'm going to give it a class name of what app. So this div is our outer div, right? So let us neglect the timer correctly and let's work without the timer. We're going to come back to add the timer, right? So, and then we have our heading. H1, which in our case is written fundamentals computer, right? So because it's fundamentals of computer, right? Then we have the quiz itself, which is already the questions and answers. So the quiz itself, right? So I'm going to copy the class name of what quiz. So this div houses both the questions and answer. So it's the actual quiz itself, right? So in it we have the question. So question goes here. You see, you have a set of options, right, for which you select the answer. So I'm going to put that in it, if, right? So I'm going to give you that an idea of what, let's say, answer what buttons, answer button. So in this answer button, we have set of options, which I'll put in buttons. So this is answer 1, right? So we have about 4 feet. Three and a 4. So 2. So 3. Right? So this particular div is the answer div, and after it we have our button for next, right? Button as for like the next, go to the next option. So let's look at this. Let's see what this gives us. Let's open this in the browser. I'll see what we have. I'm going to open it with live server. So this is what we have. So, right. So let's style this our HTML document to look exactly like this, right? Like what we have here. Then we can take it up from there. Right, so currently, I created a folder called images folder. So this images folder will house all my pictures, right? So, and I've copied an image to that picture. So I'll expect you to also create a folder on your project, and then copy any image, existing image, any image of your choice to that particular folder, right? So this is the folder, this is the image, and this is the image I'm going to work with in this project. So I expect you to do the same, right? So, and these are HTML documents. These are HTML documents. We want to style this document, right? So let's create our style sheet for this project. I'm using an external style sheet to style this our project, right? So I will come here and create a file, call it quiz.what.css. So we use the CSS extension to indicate that it's a style sheet, right? So now on our HTML document, I'm going to link to that style sheet, right? I will do that using the link tag. So I'll say link URL, that's relationship with that relationship is what style sheets. And then ref. So this ref, I'm going to indicate the style sheets, the CSS file we want to link this HTML document. The case is quiz.css, right? Okay. So at this moment, we have actually connected our CSS, this HTML document to this our CSS file, right? So we can now go ahead to start styling our HTML documents. So I'll start first of all by suppressing the default style which will be created by our browser. I'll do that using this white card mask, which stands for all, right? and I'll say margin should be what? 0. And padding should be what? 0. So I also want to give a general font family. So I have a uniformity in terms of my font family, right? So I'll say font family, and then I'll prefer to let's just use this brand, right? Okay. So if you look at our projects, look at the project we're trying to work on, you agree with me that you have this background color, right, which covers the whole page. So let me do that. So to actually achieve that, I'll start our body and give it the background image, right? So I'm going to say background URL. So, and then I'm referring to which image is where my picture is, and then in this, right? So background repeats. So I know the repeats, and then background size. I want the background size. I want it to recover. So it should cover a whole of that div, right? So it should be cover. And I'm doing this on my body. So the whole of my body will have this background image, and then the background image I'm going to stop the ability of that image using no repeats, and then the size of the image will be cover, right? If I go back, so I have this. So you can see that our background image, we've gotten our background image, so it looks exactly like what we have on our project, right? Which is this, right? All right. So let's continue with our styling. Let's go back. So at this point, we've styled a background image. We've given it a background, the body, we've given the background image, right? So let's continue. So let's go to our app. Remember that this is our app, which is the div itself, that the parent div or the entire quiz, right? So I'm going to style that has a class of app. So I'll give the background color of white. Remember, 1, 2, 3. So I'm giving it. If you look at this, you see that we're referring to this particular div. That's the app, right? You can see it has a background image, a background color of white, right? And that's what we're trying to actually style here, right? So, and so the width also, let's reduce the width, So give it a width of 90%, right? And I'll give it a maximum width of 600 pixels, right? So if I go back to it, because the width is now looking just like this, right? Okay, so let's continue. And then I want to give it a margin. So I'll give it a margin of 100 pixels up and down. That's top and bottom. And then auto the trail, right? So border radius of let's say 10 pixels, and then padding of let's say 30 pixels. All right. So if we do that, we can see that our div, our app is actually taking shape. Let's go back and look at what we did to the app. As that the app is, we'll give it a background color of white, a width of 90 pixels, maximum width is the margin. That will control it to bring it at the middle. We give it 100 pixel. This auto will just have to come to the middle and reduce. Some other person may use a different approach, right? So I can come here and say display, and let's try this display flex, and justify content center, align items center, and then I remove this. Let's see what it will give us. So you see, it brings it to the middle, right? Sorry, there's an error here. So this will also do give us the same, to give us the same to what we want, right? Simply align item center. Okay. So so I made the body a display of flex, justify content center, align item center. So the approaches will take, but I'll revert back to what I have previously, right? So you can also use flex to do that, right? So I think we should use that approach. Flex, since we are talking about this, in this class we have been looking at layout using flex and grid for layout, right? So I think I would prefer to actually take that approach, right? So what I would do is to come back to my quiz app. So let's move this. This is supposed to take it to the center, right? So we have your maximum width, border radius, padding, which is fine. If I come back to this is what we have, right? So I need this to come to the center, just like this, right? So I'll take a different approach instead of that line of code, right? So that we will be working with app, right? So I'm going to wrap this in the whole of this content in a div, right? In a different div, and I'll call it so the whole of my app, my app component, my app div is now wrapped in a different div, right? And I'll give it an ID of, let's say, container, right? So that we can style this container. I'll take this container to our CSS, and then instead of styling this body, let's style this body with, let's use container for it, right? So that our width here will be 100%, and our height will be 100 words ph, right? So that will still give us the same thing, right? Now I want to take this up to the center. So what will I do? I come here, display what? Flex. Display what? Flex. Now justify content, reward center. Then align items, reward center. Right? So if I do this, this what happens. This comes in the middle. Right? So I think this would be a better approach for us to work with. This would be a better approach for us to work with, right? So we're going to stick to. I'm doing this because recently I've been teaching on using flex and grid for layout, right? So let us stick with using flex. Let us stick to that pattern of using flex and our grid for layout. So we're using flex this time to actually position our app to the center, right? Hello. So so far we have actually created our content for our quiz app. You can see you have fundamentals of computer quiz here. Then you have your options where users can make options. You have your next button. So let's move further to style our component. So at this point we have styled our app, right? So we have styled our app. I want to also style our H1, which is, remember that this our H1 is a child of our app, right? So let us style that. So I'm going to do this. So this dot class selector, we're selecting a div of class name app, and we need to style the child component of that particular class dot app, right? So I'll give it a font size of 25 pixels. I'll give the font size of 25 pixels. I'll give it a color of, or choose blue, which is, I'm going to use this color code 00 E for div. So this is shade of blue, right? So I'll also give it a font width. So I'll give the font width of 600. Border, bottom. So I want, if you come back to this, you can see that, come back to the original app, you will see that we have a bottom, we have this horizontal line beneath this H1 tag, right? So I'm going to give that, I'm going to work on that. So that will be the border bottom, right? Border bottom of 1 pixel should be solid. And then right, so I also want to give a padding button of 30 pixels. So if you come back to our app, you can see it's exactly just like we have here, right? That we have here, right? So let's move further to style the quiz. The quiz, when I mean the quiz, we're talking about this particular div is, right? So and this one is the quiz, which has a class name of quiz. So all I will do there is just to give you a pattern to have some space between the content and the div itself, right? So I'm going to give a pattern of 20 pixel top and bottom, and then 0 pixel left and right. So we have, if you look at it, we have this H2 tag, which is a child of this H2 tag, which is the child of this quiz, right? Okay, so to style the H2 tag, what we need to do is so I'm going to use the child selector, quiz, and then H2. So what the selector means is that any H2 tag that is a child of quiz, right? So if I go to my title document, that means I'll be referring to this H2, which is a child of this our class div, right? Okay, so I'm going to give that a font size of, let's say, 18 pixels, and then I'm going to give it the color of 00, so the same color blue, right, we have with the previous color, and I'll give the font width of 600, yeah, 600. So if I save this, I'll return to our app. You can see this is what we have. Question booster. So this our question will be, right? So let me further style these answers, right? So to start this answer, what I'm going to do is to give all of them the same class. I'm going to give a class of, I will call it BTN. So let's give, or since they are going to have similar styling, so I'm going to give all style of BTN, class of BTN. So whatever we're styling is going to affect all of them, right? So I will come here, and then let's style the BTN, which is, so the BTN are all these buttons, which you just give a class. So the BTN are buttons, right? So to start the button, let's continue. So I'll give it a background color of white. Background color of white. 1, 2, 3. That's FF white. So if you go back to what we are trying to work on, you agree with me that it has a background color of white, right? Okay. So let's return back to our code. Again, it has a color. I'll give it, right, a shade of black. So font width 500. Font width is 500, and the width is 100%. All right. So if I return back, you can see this is what we have. So we're almost getting it, right? So we're almost getting it. Can see. So I want it to look exactly like this. So I'm going to work on the padding, and then if you look at these two, you see there's a space between each of these buttons. So that's the margin, right? Then I'm going to also give it padding. Then we also talk about the text align. See, this is aligned to the left, while we have this at the center. Sorry. While we have this at the center. So I'm going to work on the styling for these options, for the options. And then let's go back and work on it. So we're giving it a width of 100%. So I want a border around it, and the border should be 1 pixel, right? It should be solid. And then the corner is a shade of black, just like we have for our corner, right? It should be color, and the border should have the same corner, right? So like I said, we need to give it a padding. I'll give it a padding of 10 pixels. And then a margin. So for this margin, I want up and down to be, that's the top and bottom to be 10 pixels, while the left and right should be 0 pixel. I also want to align the text to the left, right? And then let's give it a border radius so that we have the curves around it, right? A border radius of 4 pixels, right? So so let's return and see. So you can see it's exactly what is not looking exactly like this, right? But if you look at this, let's see, you can see this, you can see the cursor looks like a hand. So we also need to add that, because we don't have it here. So let's go back and work on that. So I'll say cursor pointer. All right. So let's go back. So we now have it, right? So we are actually getting closer, right? So this is what we are trying to work on. This is what we're trying to work on. If you also look at this app, when you hover on it, you can see that the color is changing, the background color is changing, right? So which shows that you're actually hovering on that particular option, right? So we also need to work on that so that when you hover on it, on the options, the background color should change, showing that you are on that option, right? So I'm going to look at that. So to work on that, we use a pseudo class and a pseudo selector. So as usual, is BTM, and the pseudo selector is the hover, right? So the hover is selector. This hover pseudo selector is used to actually style a component when your cursor hovers around on that particular element, right? So what I'm saying is that when you hover on it, you want the background color to change, right? So the background color should change to our user color, which is 222. That's a shade of black, right? And the corner, which is the text color, should also be white, which is FFF, right? So if you do that and come back, you can see, let's reload. Oh, so I think there's an error somewhere. So this is supposed to be .btn, see class selector, so I was supposed to put dot. Okay, so .btn, when you hover on this class, the background color should be a shade of black and the color should be white, right? So let's return so you can see exactly what we have, right? So when you hover on it, the color of the text changes to white and the background color has a shade of shade of black, right? So let's also work on this next button, right? So I'm going to go back to it. So on the next button, currently on this next button, we don't have any class or ID. So I'm going to give it a class name. What do we choose? I'll choose nests. Okay, sorry. Nests BTN, right? So we have a class name of nest BTN. So I'm going to save it. So let's go back to our style that particular class. So that's a class selector, right? So we see the class selector, we use dots and then the name of the class, right? So we want to style that particular next button. So I'll give the next button a background color of 00. That's our usual blue, right? And then the color, that's the text color, should be white, right? And the font width, I'll give a font width of 500. And then let's give the button a width of, I'm going to give 150 pixels. And then border, I don't want it to have any border, so 0. So padding of 10 pixels. So if we go back, let's look at what the button looks like. So you can see this is a button. So we'll give it a padding, we'll give the text color of white, we'll give the background color of blue, right? Right? So I need to take this button to the center, right? So I need to take this button to the center. So what I'm going to do is that I'll give the horizontal, that's the left and right margin to be auto, right? I also want to give some space between this last option and this button, right? So let's do that. So I said I'll give a margin. The margin will be 20 pixels up, right? So the left and right is auto, so it's going to adjust, going to take balance, right? And then 0. So if you go back, I want to take this button to the center of the screen, right? So you can actually do it using margin, try to use the margin to bring to the center of the screen. But like I said before now, that recently I've been teaching on layout using flex and grid. So I prefer to use my flex, display flex to actually bring this button next to the center of the screen, right? Let's go back to our code. Now, first of all, I want to adjust something. I'll use ID for this. I prefer to use ID for this button. So I'm changing this to ID so that in my CSS, the selector will no more be dot, it will now be this, right? Okay. So now I will, so everything still remain the same. But if you look at this our button, you can see that unlike what we have here, right? You can see this, the cursor is like a hand, right? So I also want to change this cursor from this next button to actually look like exactly what the project we're trying to replicate. So I'll go back to my CSS, and on our next button, on our selector, CSS selector for the next. So what I'm going to do, I'll give it a cursor of what? Pointer, right? Okay. So if I go back, we have it. So let's go back and see if that's what we have. I can see that this button has some form of radius, right? If you look at the corner of the button, you can see some curves, right? Okay. So I also want to give it a border radius. So I'll see border radius. I'll give it 4 pixels, right? So you can see what I have exactly what we are looking for. So finally, I want to bring this button to the center of this of this screen, right? Center of this of his parent. So what I will do is to go to our HTML document, and I want to wrap this particular div, this particular button in a div, right? So okay. So this whole button, let me cut it. I want it to be in this div, right? So I'll give this button, this div, an ID of, let me call it next parent, right? So let's style this next parent. So we're going to style this next parent to adjust his child, which is button, to the middle, right? So I'll go back here, and we used an ID selector, so I'll use this, right? And then we use display what flex. So we use justify content will now be what center, right? So if you do that, we get exactly what this, right? So lastly, when you start this app, initially this screen, this next button is hidden, right? So what it means, when you select an option, the next button, the first option, the next button actually becomes visible. So what it means is that when the app starts, the next button is hidden. So when you click on this JavaScript, pick this event, this click event, and then display this next button to be visible, right? So by default, we need to make this our next button hidden. So to do that, I will do display what? None. Right? So that will hide our next button. So you can see our next button is now hidden, right? So next I'm going to look. Next is to work on this timer. So we have this. The left hand side is the end time. The right hand side is the current time, right? So I'm going to work on that now, right? Okay, so let's go back to our HTML document. So we'll go to the app. Right? So let's create a div for our start time, right? And I'm going to give it an ID of timer, right? So this start time, this ID timer is our current time, right? So I'll leave it as 0. I'll leave it as 0 hour, 0 minutes, and what? 0 seconds. So that's our start time, right? Then our end time, just create another div that houses our end time, right? So I'll give it an ID of end time, and I'll just input a value here, 0, 0, right? So we will now go to our CSS to position the start time and the end time to look exactly like what we have on our screen. So if you look at it currently, if you go back to our screen currently, this is what we have. Okay, it's probably even hit. Look at it, look at where it is, right? So, but if you look at this, you can see where it's positioned. You can even see the font size, right? So we need to position this, our start time and end time, to the appropriate position, right? So that means we need to do that. Don't forget that we created a div for our start time and give it an ID of timer. For our current time and give it an ID of timer. We created a div for our end time and give it an ID of end time. So I'll now go to our CSS and style those divs such that it's positioned just like exactly what we have on our project, right? So to do that, don't forget, we said that our end time has an ID of end time div has an ID of end time, right? So I'll give it a position of absolute, right? So the position is absolute. So it's it's absolute, and it's when you put the position absolute, it becomes it's positioned with a reference to the screen itself, right? So from the right side, if I go back to this for end time, you can see where it is, right? So for end time, you can see where it is, right? So you can see that it's close to the left of the screen and top of the screen, right? So to position this, we have given it the position of absolute. So an absolute in CSS gives position the element relative to the screen. So I need to define the position it will be relative to the left of the screen and the position to be relative to the top of the screen, right? So to do that, I'll go back to my code. And from the left of the screen, I want it to be 5 pixels from the screen itself, right? So it will draw to the left. So it's going to count 5 pixels from the left of the screen and position that element there. I also want to take it to the top. So I'm going to position it with reference to the top of the screen. So from the top, I'm going to also give it 5 pixels, right? So I also want to adjust the font size of the screen, right? The font size of that particular end time, right? So I'll give it 2 rem, right? And then the background color, if you go back and look at this, you can see the background color is white, right? So for that div, I also want to give it a background color. So I'll say background color, which is white. But the color of the text itself, of course, is black. So if you do that and return back to our screen, you can see this is now positioned just like we actually styled it. So I'm going to do the same for this other one, which is a timer, which is a current time, right? So to do that, I'm going to style it. Don't forget to give it an ID of timer, right? So also we're going to give it position of absolute. And then to the right, on the right, this time, unlike this other one, this is positioned at the right? The current time position at the right. So we're going to make a reference to the right side of the screen and also the top of the screen, right? So that's why I'm giving it a right of 5 pixels, and then left and then top of 5 pixels. So I'll give you the same font size of 2 Arial, background color of white, and then color of black. So if we do that, you can see we now have it positioned, right? So we are good to go. So currently there is no behavior on our online quiz, right? So we need to go to our JavaScript and work on our script to look exactly like what we have here. So our JavaScript will populate the question for us, populate the answers for us, and then our JavaScript will also react based on your options. It also reacts based on your options. If the option you pick is correct, it highlights it and make other options inactive. Then it will also display the next button, and then based on whether the option is correct or not, it counts the score. At the end of the day, it populates or displays the score to you, right? Just like what we have here, right? So I'm going to achieve that using JavaScript. So to do that, let's go back to our code and create our JavaScript file, and then write our script to help us perform all this functionality. So I have a downloaded PDF document for which I got from the internet. So I'm going to populate this our HTML document with these questions and then options. And this document also identifies the answer, the correct answer among the options, right? So which we're going to do just like we have in this app. So to start with that, I will go to my HTML file, and then let us create our JavaScript. I'm going to call it quiz.js. So secondly, I'm going to link our HTML file with our JavaScript. So I will do that in our body. So what you do is to go down to before your body. You can actually do that in your body. You can do that at the head, but prefer using the body, right? So use the script tag and then type module and then define the location of your JavaScript file .js, right? Okay. So we have doing this have linked our JavaScript to our HTML. So I'll go to our JavaScript now to actually work on all the functionality that's involved in our app, right? So first of all, I want to create a question bank that houses all our questions. So I'm going to call it question bank.js, right? So this JavaScript file is going to house all our question bank, right? So what we are going to do now is I'll create a variable. I'm going to call it constant. So this variable, we're going to call it questions, right? So this variable will be an array of all our questions and options, right? So this variable will be an array of objects, and this object will carry all our questions and answers. So in this object, I will create a question property. This question property is going to house our question, right? And then we have an answer property that holds all our options, right? And it's going to be an array. Remember that we have several options, so it'll be an array of options, right? So like I said, we're going to take our question from this. So I will take this question. This question is a question. I'm going to copy it, and then I'll put it in our question property. Then we'll have different options. Like this is option 1. So I'm going to copy this option, for example. Copy it and put it. So in our option property will be various options, which also be an object of various options. And it has a property called text, right? I give you the text, that's where you paste the option. Second property will be correct. So this property indicates the question, if this option is the correct answer or not. So in this case, this is the answer. So I'm going to leave it as false, right? So remember, we have 4 of these options. So I'm going to copy it 4 places. 2, 3, 4, right? So this is an array of different questions, right? So let me copy other options here. Other options. So let's take it back here, and I'll paste it here, right? So this is also false. This is not the correct answer. So let's copy these 2. And let's paste it here, right? So this is also not the correct answer, right? So the last one, the answer is actually option D. So this is the correct answer. So I'll copy it and then paste it. So because this is the correct answer, so these are correct property will now be what? True. So this is just a question. This is just a question. This object is just a question with a question and answer property. The answer property carries the question. The question property carries the question. The answer property carries an array of objects with various options. And then we have a property called correct, which indicates if that option has the correct answer or not. So just not to waste more time. Also to waste time, I'm going to copy this question several times. Let's say 4 times. 4 times 3. So we have 4, right? So we have our question bank ready, right? So in our JavaScript, what I would do in our JavaScript is just to import that particular question to our JavaScript. So to do that, but before then, let's go back to our question bank. We need to export this question first. So to do that, all you need to do is to do export what? Default. export default, I was exporting the variable question, right? So we have it now exported, right? So if I go back to a JavaScript file, I can now import questions from what? From question bank. So at this point, we have our question imported to our JavaScript, right? So now, let's now begin to write our logic properly, right? So for what I will start first of all is that I'm going to define a variable. The variable will hold our current index defined. So this variable will hold our current what? Index. Remember that for an array, the index of array starts from 0. So for me to select the first question, so I need to actually select it using index 0. So I will store that particular, I'll store it in a variable called index current question index. So the current question is will start initially will be what? Equal to what? 0. Right? So I also want to define a variable that holds our score. So I'll define a variable and declare it to what? Score. Initially our score will be 0, right? We also want to define a variable that holds our current question number. Right? So I'm going to call it current what? Question what? Number. And what I mean by current question number, if you go back to what we are trying to work on, you can see this number here, this is 1. So that's what you mean, right? So that variable will hold that number 1, right? Now, we also want to select the question nodes. So we'll define a variable that will hold, that will select or hold the question node. So I'll call it current what? Question. So that will be, you use that using, okay, so this current question index, so let's add index here so we are not confused. So current question, and this current question, we're going to use document.what get elements by ID. So we want to select the node that holds the question, and to go back to HTML document, we're referring to this particular node H2. So I'm going to give it an ID of question. So that in our JavaScript we will select this particular node. That's the question, because that's where we're going to populate our question, right? So remember that we also want to populate our options. So we have to select the option node, right? Right? So I'm going to create a variable, I'll call it answer, and then document.get element by ID. So what are we searching for? If I go back to HTML document, we're referring to this node that holds our options, and that is answer-what button. So that's the node I'm referring to. So you're going to copy, let's copy, and then go back to our quiz and paste. Right? So we also want to select our next node, select next what node. Whether you click the next button and it takes you to the next question, so we need to also select that node. So I'm going to select our next node. So I'll call it next, and that will be document.get element by ID, and we're selecting the next node. If I go back to HTML, we are referring to this one next, and the ID is next what btn. So I'll copy it, take it to our JavaScript and paste it. So we have all these selected, right? Now, having selected all this, let's now write a function that starts our quiz. And I'll call that function start quiz. And that function will be an arrow function, right? To be an arrow function. Now, when we create a function, we also want to call the function here, right? Okay. So the first thing I want to do in that question is to actually define our question number. Know that we have a question number here declared. So let's assign that question number. So question number question number will be equals to the current index. It starts from index 0. So the current question will be index 0 plus what? Plus 1. So this defines the question number. I know when I mean question number, I'm referring to this particular one here, right? So I remember that our index is the current index, which starts from 0 in our array. So, right? So then our temporary question, we want to select question from the question bank. And when I mean question from the question bank, I'm referring to, for example, this whole object. Let us extract that. So I'll create it in a variable and I'm going to call it temp question. And this temp question will be questions. Remember, these questions is the whole objects, the whole questions which we imported, right? And it's an array, right? It's an array. So I will just let the array have to pass in the index. And remember, our current index is defined the variable which is index 0. So that means index 0 will now refer to this particular question, right? But subsequently, as we click on next button, we need to change that index number to select the next question. So that's it. So this is our question, right? So now, that means our current question, remember this current question selected the node for this, right? Which is this. So we want to insert that question in that node, right? So what we do is that we already have that node selected. So it will be current question dot what inner what HTML is equals to, right? So we're going to insert, what are we inserting there? First of all, if you look at this, what we're inserting is the number, then before the question itself, right? So what is that number? Remember what I've said is this current what number. So it's current what? Current question number, right? And after that, we're going to concatenate it with what? A space. Then before the question itself, and we can get the question from this variable which we have used to extract the question. So and that will now be temp question dot what? Number question. Temp question dot what? Dot question. Remember that if you go to the variable, you go to the question bank, this is the property question which we are trying to insert or extract here, right? So if you do this and go back to our document, let's reload. We should have our question populated. Why is it not populated? Let's see why. So I'm going to go to our console and see if I'm getting an error. Okay. So current question is equals to current question is equals to current question number plus this. So let me reload. So let's see what current question is giving us. If it's an object, console.log. Almost meant to log. Let's see. Let's quiz.js. Let me reload. Let me put this cover again. And let's see why I'm not getting it. Okay. So let me be sure I'm actually getting anything for my quiz. So what I will do is to console.log. Let's be sure starting. Right. So even so that have it imported, let's go back and be sure what in HTML script type module quiz.js. Yes, so we'll save this script type module. Okay, so this is SRC, not LCR. SRC, sorry about that. Let's save. And then okay, so you see, we have it, right? So we have our question populated, right? So I'm going to use it from a single tab. So we have our question populated, right? So we have populated our question here. So next we need to actually populate the options on this option tab, just like we have here, right? So let's go back and check that. So I'll go back to my JavaScript file And in here, so in here, we need to look through all the options, right? And then create a button element. So what we're going to do is loop through the options, right? Then we're going to create button nodes, and then we'll append the nodes to what to loop through the parents, right? So let's look. So to do for, I'm going to use a for loop and variable I, right? Variable I equals to what? 0, right? And then I less than temp dot. So where's our answers? Our answers is in our question bank, which is this answer, right? Okay, so we already have that the question selected in line 19. So we're going to look through it. So remember I said the answers. I said the answers, right? That's the current answer. So we're looping through the answer. We're looping through the answer, right? So the answers dot what length. We're looping through the whole answer dot length, and then I plus increments, right? So we are looping through all the answers, which is been extracted from in the answer property. And so in looping through create, we say the next is to create a button node. Let's copy this here so that we are. So we're going to create a button node, right? So I'll store that node button node in a variable called button. And then to create a button is you document dot create what's element. So that will create an HTML element. What kind of element do you want to create? A button element, right? So we want to insert each of those options in that button element. So we do button dot what inner what HTML, right? So what are we inserting? We're inserting those options, and when I mean options, I mean by inserting the question back, we're inserting those options, freedom to worship. We're inserting all these options in that particular node. And how do we get that options? From our temp question, which I've actually extracted already. Right? So just to get the answer property, which is this answer property from it, right? So which we are looping through, and then it is located in the text property, right? So we have a property text. When we loop through this answer array, we extract this text property and then assign it into that and put it into that particular button, right? So how do you extract it? You say temp questions. So we say temp what question, right? Dot what answers. So the current answer. So we are getting the current object. Each of these. Well, I'm kind of like getting the whole of this, right? But remember that even in that object, the option is actually located in a property called text, right? So let's go back. So we're saying this then dot what text. So we have created a button element. We have inserted those options in that button element. So the next we need to do is that we also need to insert. Remember that in this same button element, we also have another property called correct that defines if the option is correct or not. I need to store that particular option, that particular correct, whether it's correct or not, false or true, in that button, right? So to do that, I'll use a data set. So I'll say button dot data set dot correct. I'll just give it any choice of my own. I'll call it correct what answer. Is the answer correct? I'll store it. And what am I storing in that particular data set? I'm storing data temp question answers. Is it answers, right? I dot what dot correct, right? So remember that in our HTML document we created in this, what I tried to create are these buttons, right? When I want to create the buttons, we append it to answer button, right? But remember that these buttons we are creating, we already have styled it by giving the class of what btn. So we need to do that also. So how do we do that? So we're adding a class name to our button. So we'll do that to say button dot class what? Class lists dot what? Add. And what's the name of the class we're adding? What's the class name? BTN. So that this button will take the style for what? For BTN. Just like what we did here. Right? So what next are we going to do? We need to now append this button to a node, to the parent. And what's the parent? Remember, what's the parent? This particular div with ID answer button. And remember that in our JavaScript, we have actually selected that node, which is what? This select node. Select. So I'll call it select parent what? Select parent node option, right? So what you do is just to say button. So the answer, which is the parent node is answer. So it's answer dot append. And so what are we appending? We're appending what? Button. Right? So if you do that, by now we should not have the button appended to our parent. So if I go back to our script, you can see this. You can see all the options are here. We are no more interested in all these other buttons which you created in our HTML document. So I'll go back to our HTML document and then I can delete all this. So if I go back, this is what we have. So we have succeeded in populating our question and our answers to this our HTML document using JavaScript, right? So but don't forget that when we click on this, sorry about it. Don't forget that when we come here and click, or we click on an option, if the option is shown, the background color changes, and then that button is deactivated. So we need to handle the events, the click events of all these buttons, right? So let's do that. So when the button is selected, what happens? What happens? Right? The background color changes depending on whether the option is correct or not. And then the next button appears. But if I inspect this, what you have done, you can see that if I inspect it, what you have simply do from the inspect, you can see that in this parent node, which is answer, we created buttons and we have appended those buttons to this div with this div, which is answer button. If you examine each of those buttons, you can see that we inserted those options in the button, and then you can see this data correct answer, false, false, false. So the one with true shows that that's the option, that's true. So we handle this in our JavaScript in this line, right? So we are appending that property correct to, we are storing it in our button, we are storing it in our button, in our buttons. So on click of the button, we can actually check the data correctness if it's true or false. That will help us know if the option that was selected is actually the correct answer or not, right? So let's go back and handle the event in our button. Let's go. So if we return back to our code, so on that, what to do is to handle the click event of our button. So when we click on in this option, what happens? So let's go to our JavaScript. To do that, before append, we also want to use the event listener. So our button will listen for an event, and we use that using add what event listener. And what kind of event are we trying to listen for? That's the click event. And when the click event is when the click event is done on our button, so we are going to get an event handler. So we are going to define our event handler. I'll call that event handler answer. Select what? Answer. Right? So we need to go and write this our event handler. So when a button is clicked, when a button is clicked, so when an event is emitted from our button, when a click event is emitted from our button, call what this event what handler. Right? I don't know why I'm having. So I don't know what this T is doing here. I don't know. So what we're saying is button dot what? Add what? Event listener. So when our button emits an event, add a click event, what we want to do is to call this select what? Select event handler. So this select will be our event handler. You can use any name of your choice. I'm using select answer, right? So I'll go back after this. So we are done with the start quiz. So I want to write a new function which is our event handler. So this is click event what handler. And what do we name the handler? Select button, right? So I'll create a function and I'll call it what? This, right? Okay, so when a button is clicked, if I do console.log, let's try something. You clicked here. So when this button is clicked, what we are saying is call this event handler. And this event handler is a function. What it does just to console.log, you click me. So if I come back here and then let's inspect our log. Right? Let's inspect our log. If I click a button, can you see you clicked me? So we're going to handle that in our event handler, right? So what are we going to do in our event handler? First, we're going to check. So we check if the node selected is the right option. What do we do? If it's the right option, what do you say we're doing? We're going to increment score. Remember, we're going to increment our score. Increment score. On that, what we're going to do is to add a class name. Add a class to the selected node. So in our CSS, we're going to write the CSS property for that class we're adding, right? And part of what of it is just to change the background color, right? So if it's not else, we change the background color. Right? So let's start. Now, for us to get the object that was clicked. So when you click on the button that was clicked, for us to get the object, we need to pass an argument called E, which stands for event. Right? So I'll define a variable and I'll call it event node. What I'm saying is that the node where that event was emitted, where that event was emitted. Any button you click, the node where that event was emitted, that's the button that emitted the event. That's what I'm trying to store in this node. And I'll get to using this our events object dot target. So the event object has several properties. One of it is target, and that target is used to get the node where the event was emitted, right? So that defines it, right? Now, since we have gotten the event, it becomes very easy. It becomes very easy to work, right? So what do we do next? We now see. Remember that we have, if I log these events, console.log event node. Let's look at what happens. So if I check our console, so for every event I click, if I click the event, you see we're logging the event node. Remember this data correct answer which we are storing here. We can use this to know if what the event that emitted or the node that was selected, if it's the correct answer or not, right? So we can extract this data correctness answer to check if it's false or true, right? Okay. So let's come back to our class. So that means to do that, we can now say if events node, we call it event node, right? If event node dot data sets dot what? Correct answer. So remember what you are looking for. Said we're looking for. If I go back here and this, so what we're looking for, when you click on it, is we're saying event node to data correct, and this is what we're trying to extract. So correct what answer. So the planning is correct what answer, right? So if it's false, if it's true. So if this is true, that is the correct answer. Else is not, right? Else you know that what you selected is actually the wrong answer. So what do we do? What is what we're going to do? The two things we're going to do. So we're going to do these two things, right? The if block, and then what are we going to do? We're going to do this in the else what block, change the background color. That's what. And then don't forget what we want to make. So say, so the first thing is to increment score. If it's 2, then that means the person got it. So the score, we need to increment the score. And how do we do that? No matter we define the score variable, initially we give it a value of 0. So we're going to increment it by 1 whenever the person selects the right answer. And then we also want to change the background color for that particular node that is selected, right? So how do we do that? We say we add a class to that node. So event node dot what? Class list dot add. So I'm going to call it correct. So we're adding a class. Sorry, correct. We're adding a class called correct to that node. To class name for correct to that node. If that node selected is the correct answer. So but I need to go to our CSS and write the CSS property for this class, right? So I'll come back to this. For a class selector is dot, right? This. So what do you want to do if what is selected is actually correct? What do you intend to do? The simple thing we intend to do is just to change the background color, right? So I'll say background color. Let's give it a green. FF00, right? That's green. Let's use the opportunity to also define if it's not correct. So incorrect. The background color should also change. So and I'll give it red. A shade of red. FF. Let's say 9393, right? So we have correct and incorrect. So if the person selected, if the person selected the right answer, just give it that class name of correct. And what that class is doing in the CSS is just to change the background color. Else, what are we going to do? We'll also change the background color to incorrect. So if what the person selected is not the correct answer, change the background color to what? Equal to do that, just say add event.class what? Class list dot what? Add. What I have written is style for incorrect in our style, right? So let's see. So this will just, if we go back to our, let's see. So if you select it, that's an incorrect answer. But that's the correct answer. You can see. But we need to disable, when you select an answer, I want to disable all of that button. Right? So this is the correct answer. That's correct. We need to disable all that buttons. So all you select, you don't have the opportunity to select again. What you just need to do is to open, is to make the next button, is to display the next button so I can go to the next button. Just like we have here. And then another option, another button here will be deactivated, right? But we'll have the next button display, right? So how do we handle that? So what do we do now? So when somebody click on the answer, so when someone click on the answer, click on an answer, we check if it's true and then we change the background color. What else do we want to do? We also want to make the display. By default, our next, it has a display of none, right? Our next button have a display of none. So we're going to change the display style to be shown to the user when the user clicks. For that, and this happens whether the option is correct or not. So we don't need to actually give a condition. It has to be outside our conditional statement, right? So what you're going to do is to make the next button active, right? And how do you do that? No matter I've selected the next button node, which is this, right? So all we need to do is to come here and get that node. Change the style of that node, the display property of that node. And how do we give a style? You see next dot what? Dot style. To accessing the style property of that node. And what do we want to add? Display. I want to make the display to be what? Instead of none, I want to make it to be what? Look. Right? So one other thing we want to do is to look through all the nodes and check if the attributes. If they were to look through all the node is to look through all our option node and make it inactive, right? Whether you select the wrong answer or correct answer, you make that node error. So we're going to look through the options and make them what? Inactive. So how do we do that? We use a for loop. Variable I equals to what? 0. Then I greater than. Okay, so let's look at it. You know, we selected this answer button. This is the answer. And answer is the parent, right? Now, to actually get the children, if we go to answer, we go to this answer, which is the parent. This is the answer, button, which is the parent. So this parent, we've created button element and append it to this parent. Now we need to loop through the children of this parent, right? So to do that, what we need to do that in our JavaScript file. So to access all the children. So once you do answer, which is the parent, right? Dot what children. It's going to return you a node list of all the children, just like an array, right? So we need the length of that array. And then what? I what? Plus. So what are we simply doing as we look to? We are going to access each of those node, right? Each of the child. So I will say these are children. So that's a node list. But for the specific node or specific node for that child specific child you want to actually, as we look to, we access it using the I, just like an array, just like doing an array, right? They want to set attributes. Set attribute is like a property. Which attribute you want to set? Remember that when you go to HTML to disable the button, you just use an attribute of display word true, right? So if I go to a button and say display, if I create a button, for example, I create a button here, right? If you put an attribute here of, let's say, display, this input, sorry, and you make it what? True. And make it, let's say, display was 2. That button becomes what? Inactive, right? So we're going to set this attribute in our JavaScript. So what I will do is to come here and say set attribute. What attribute am I setting? I'm setting this enabled. So what am I doing? I'm setting the attribute. What am I setting the attribute to? I'm setting it to true. Right. Okay. I think I'm having some error. This I greater than answer dot children dot length. What's this? Okay, so this will be this, right? I made a mistake here. So that's one of the error. So this should correct. Am I correct? So I seem to be getting an error. So let's see. Oh. I created an answer dot what children dot what length, right? So I plus. Okay, so this is fine. So we're looping through each of the we're looping through the children of the answer, right? So this is our answer node. So when you do answer dot children, when you do in node.children, it returns a collection of children, which are children of that particular node, right? And so more or less like an array in the one sense, in the sense it's a list, right? So now I'm checking for the length of that list, and then just like you handle array, and then that's how you loop to the node, right? So now I want to set the attribute property of each of the node to disable true, right? So to select the actual node, to select the child node, right? note out this answer dot what? Children. Don't forget that this answer dot children returns a collection of nodes that are children of that node. But when I put this is in node collection, a list. So if I use this brackets, right, and then this, and then I, so this will be 0 in the first case, 1, 2 as the case may be. Like that. So I'm selecting, I'm slipping through that children node and selecting each of these nodes. And what I want to do is to set the attribute, but let's say set attribute to what of the button to display disabled, right? Disabled to what? True. So that will make all those nodes what? Disable. So if I do this and save, let's go back. So in this case now, once I select, you can see every node becomes what? I cannot select every disabled. So you can see I'm not able to actually select them, right? And my next button becomes what? Visible, right? So you can see my next button becomes visible. So that was handled here. So that's because we said next to this display, right? So we have gotten this. So next, we actually need to now work on the next button. When you click on next button, it should now take you to the next question, right? So that's what we need to handle now. So remember that we have selected the node already for the next, which is in line 11, right? So we need to add an event listener for this particular next. So how do I do that? Let's come back after this. So this is what? Let's put a comment. Undo click what? Event for next button, right? So what do we do that? Remember that the node is what? We define a variable called next, which we select the node for the button next, right? So we're going to do next dot what? Next dot add, we're going to add an event listener. Or what kind of event are we listening for in that node? It's a click event. And then we now define the event handler, right? So I'm going to call it take what? Us to what? Next what? Question. So let's now write the event handler for the take us to next question. So I'll copy this. So create the event handler. So I'll create a function. I'm calling the function this, right? So what are we doing in that event as handler? So first of all, you need to reset the question. In other words, you need to remove all the question, remove all the answers. So what we do in this cell, we remove all the question answer, now input a new one, right? So I'll call that resets. So what I will do was also reset. So take it back to default, like remove everything, right? Now we also need to check if the current question is the last question. So check if the current question. So we also need to check if current question is the last question. If it's not the last question, so if not the last question, what are we doing? If not the last question, we take the person to the next question, right? Else, what are we doing? Else we display this person's what? Score. Let's start. So first of all, let's reset. And reset means what we're setting is the answers, right? So I prefer to write I'll prefer to write this reset in the function, right? So I'll create a function, I'll call it quiz service. See, we're going to restructure our code to actually bring some of this code to the quiz service. But let's start quiz services. So this quiz service will carry some of our services, right? So I'm writing my first service for quiz service, right? And so this quiz service, I want to have more services. So I'll use a name named export, right? So function. So the first service we want to write is a reset. So this reset will expect a node, right? And this node, this node was really like a parent node, like our case, like our answer node, which is this answer node, right? So we're going to look through the children of this answer node and remove the answer. So there's space now to actually input new answers, right? So I'll come here, right? So we're going to look through. So I'm going to use while. So I'll use while answer dot what? First child. So while that answer has a child, if the answer has a child, we're going to look through. As long as that answer or this node has a child, we're going to remove it. I'm going to do answer dot what? Remove child. So we'll use the property remove what? Child. So to remove remove child. Which child is removing? The first child. Answer dot first what? First child. So this is just a simple thing. So we are looping through a parent node. And as long as that node has something in it, we're going to remove the first child. As long as that node has a first child and it has a node in it or has a element in it, we'll remove it, right? So I'll go back to our quiz.js and then let's import that particular services. And remember, it is what? I'm going to remove this console. It is reset service, right? It is the reset what? Service. So, and remember, the set service is a name function. So to import a name function, so use what this, right? So simply what I would do simply here in our reset is just to call that function and passing the parameter. And what are we passing as parameter? Remember, is just the parents, which is the node that houses all our options, which is what this answer. So we're just passing answer. So what the reset button now does is to loop through that parent node and then remove all the child. So our child node, our option become empty, right? So the next thing we need to do now is to now, like we said, is to now check. The next thing we need to do now is now to check if the correct question is the last question. How do we do that? So we're going to use the if condition. So we use our correct question index. Remember, it is 0 like that, it will increment, right? Okay. So remember, so use our correct index. This is 0, it will go to 0 plus 1, like that. So before then, for us, we're going. So after reset, we need to go to the next question. Go to the next what? Question. So what do you do? What do you do is just to increase the current index to what? Plus to 1. So if you increase the current index plus 1, go to our start quiz, the question will increase. The end question, this other question, the next question will be selected like that. So simply to go to the next question, what we just do is just to increment this our current index. So which we have done here, right? So now we want to check. We also need to check if this current index we have increased is the last question. And how do you do that? To check if current index, as long as current index is less than the number of questions, which is question.what.length. As long as this condition is true, then we are not yet in the last question. Right? So if this condition is true, what do we do simply? If it's true, what we just do simply is just to call the start quiz function. And if you go back to the start quiz function, what you observe, what you do to increment the correct index, get the next question, and then do everything but that populate the answers. That's what it's doing. And remember, before we did that, remember that we have removed the current answer already. So it will populate the new question, then populate the current answer. Now, what if is it when the last question? So we are saying else what we want to do. Else, if this condition is false, then that means we don't have any more question to work on. So what we need to do at this point is not to display to the user what the user's code is, right? So to do that, we're going to do let's first current question to style. I just want to align that current question to the center. To style to text align. Right? I will make it towards center. So first, remember that we have removed all the answers. So there's no in line 66 we have reset the answers. So there's nothing, no answer option, no option for answers already. So if there's no option for answer, what we just need to do is just to change the text, right? Change the text in our question now to the score, right? So first I'm going to hide the next button. Hide the next button. Since this is the last question, no more showing next button to the user. So we're going to use next dot what style dot what display, right? Is what none. So that will hide the next. That will hide the next button, right? So our current question, instead of showing the question now as usual, so what will now show the score? Inner question, inner HTML, current question dot what inner what HTML. What do you want it to be? So right. So your score, or you scored what's our score? So we're just displaying the score to the user, right? Okay, so let's look at what this looks like on our browser, right? So I'm going to reload our browser. So we click on this, tells you, goes to the next question. This is the wrong question. You can see every other button becomes inactive and the next button is displayed. If I click, it goes to question 2, right? If I click, this is the right question, right? So every other button becomes inactive. So now I'm scoring 1, right? So the next question, if I click, you understand, it goes to the next, every other button become inactive. And if I click next, it goes to question 4, right? So if I click on the right answer, it goes to, so you can see, so now no more question is left. So, and you scored 2, so you just so your score is what 2, right? Now we need to work on this timer, right? So the next thing we need to work on is the timer, right? So we need to have a timer that will actually tell us when, that will actually display our start time, and when we actually, and when the time, when the exam ends, it stops the exam, right? So let us go back to our JavaScript file and work on that, right? So let's go back. So what I'm going to do is this. So I'm going to create a variable and call it end time. So these variables are end time as usual. And remember that this end time tells us the time the exam is expected to end, right? So I'll use a date object. Right? So, and what will I put in the date object? Parameter will be the current, the end time. So I'll say new date, which is, so this object will return the current time, right? So, and I'm getting the time from it, right? So get time. Get what time. So we have a date object, and we're passing in the date to the object. And what date are we passing? The current time, right? Plus, what do we want to add? You should want this exam to end in the next, let's say, 22 seconds, right? Or whatever. So you're going to add it. So I'm going to add, let's call it 20,000, right? So 20,000, right? So this is end time. So the current time, current dates, can see the current dates, they were adding plus what? So if you want to end the exam in 2 hours, then you calculate what 2 hours means in seconds, and then insert it here, right? All right. So, but you know, I'm going to, the format I'm going to display this is in hours, minutes, and then seconds. So I'm going to extract the hours variable, the minutes component from this our end time. So I'll call it variable end time hours, right? So I want to extract the hour component from this end time. So end time, you're going to pass in if he has a property code and get what hours. So that get hours will extract the hours property from our end time, and I'll convert it to string, right? So I'll use to string. So this is the hours component of our get time. So I'm going to call it, so this spelling I got is wrong, right? So I also want to get the minutes property. So let's say end time minutes, right? So as usual, end time dot, so it has a get minutes property. Get what minutes. As usual, I also convert it to a string. I also want to extract the seconds property, right? So I'll say variable end time, I'll call it seconds. So end time dot what, get what, you can see that get seconds dot what to string. So I've gotten, so what I do in line 3 is to actually create a date object, and that date object, I pass in a date, the current time, then add probably the end time. For example, if I want the example, the duration I want the example to last. So if it's, let's say, 200 seconds, 500 seconds, whatever, the duration of the time duration. So that's what I'm adding here, right? So then, because of the way I want to display this end time to the user, so I'm extracting the time, the hour component from this end time, the minutes component from this end time, and then the seconds component from this end time. So I'm going to now insert this into our end time variable, which is into our end time, which is this, right? Which is this, right? This, right? So to do that, what I need to do first of all is to select that component that holds the end time. So if I go back, you can see this is our end time component. It's our ID of what timer. So sorry, ID of end time, right? So let's remember that. So as usual, to get it, I'll say document dot get elements by ID, right? And what are we getting? We're getting the node with ID name and what end time. So then I'll just go copy it as it is. So this is the node I want to select. I want to insert the end time into that node. So right, so I've selected the component. So select the end time node, right? So I've selected that node in our DOM tree. And I want to insert an inner HTML into it. So with the backtick, which is right. So, and it is called template literals. So we want to mix both string and variables, right? So remember, the format I want to use is our hour, which is like the end time hour, right? The full column, right? The end time minutes, which we have extracted, the minute component we have extracted, right? Then, so hour, minutes, and then the seconds, right? So we also want to change the what, end time what, seconds. Right? Okay. So if I come back here, you can see it now tells us our end time. Right? So our end time, we're ending in the next 13, 34, 28, right? So that's end time. Now this is our current time, is the current time, and you know, of course, you need to be changing. So it will be just like a clock, right? Okay, so we're going to handle it differently from the way we handle this, because this is the current time, and the current time is not static. It will be just like a clock that tells us the time. So you are seeing your time, and you are seeing the time is also ending. As a matter of fact, to make it easier, let's come here and something called, I want to call this, so I will know which is end time, right? So end time, so we know that this is our end time, that this is current time. So let's continue. Now, So I'm going to use, to actually create a clock that depicts our current time, I'm going to use a set interval, right? So I'll create a variable and I'll call it set what? Timer. Set timer. So we're creating a timer. So create a timer for our current time. So let's create a variable and I will say set what? Set interval. Set interval. Right? Call what? Call back. So this set interval, I'm going to define a function called callback, which we're going to create callback function. So this is the callback function, and every 1000 milliseconds. So what we are seeing here is that every this set interval will keep running every 1 second, and it will always be running this callback function. So the set interval expects the callback function, and then the timer. So in that case, it's 1000 milliseconds, which is equivalent to 1 second. So every 1 second, this particular function is called, right? So let's create this function that is called every 1 second. So I want to create a function. So every one second, this function is called, right? So we're going to handle all the logic in this function that is called every 1 second. So simply what we're going to be doing is that every 1 second, we're going to be setting our current time, which is this timer, to the current time, because the current time won't change. So every 1 second, if you are getting the current time every 1 second, it becomes so the timer becomes dynamic. Every 1 second, that particular time is changing, right? So what are we doing? Simply, in every 1 second, let us get the current time. So I'll create a variable called current time. And the current time is just the current, you just use the date object, which will give us the current time. So as usual, we are going to extract the hour, the minutes, and the seconds component from this our current time. So I'll call it current time hour, right? So it will be current what time to get what they get our property. Our property will get us our component of this time, right? And then they get minutes. We're going to create another variable called current minutes. So that will be current what time. We're getting the minutes component, which is get what minutes. So we also want to get the current seconds. Current. I think this will be current time, or make it current time, right? Current time minutes. So this will be current time what seconds. Current time seconds. So we'll get the seconds component of the current time. So it's current time dot what? Get what seconds. I'm not interested in milliseconds. So every 1 seconds, this function is called. And what we do in the function is just to get the current time after every seconds. Right? If we do that, we will now select this timer, this node, and then insert the current time in that node. So every 1 second, what will mean that every 1 second, the content of this timer is being changed. So this type of this node is changed, right? Let's go back. So what do? We say document dot what? Dot get elements ID. Don't forget the ID name is what? Timer. Go back and compare. It's timer, right? So, and then the inner HTML, what do you want to put? Dot inner HTML, remember? I'm going to use our template filters. And I can decide to add a text called current time. current time. So we know that this is the current time, right? Okay. So current time equal to or space. So we're going to insert our components first. So current time hour, right? Full column, just like the way it appears, right? Then current minute, right? Current minutes, full column, and then current what seconds, current time seconds, right? Okay. So this will, if we do this, I don't know how our timer was display. So this is our end time and this is. Whatever, there's no logic that tells that end the exam when the current time and the current time and the end time are equal, right? So even when this timer is above 90, above the end time, and the exam is still on it. So we need to handle that logic. And how do you do that? Let's go back. So to do that, what we are going to say is, if current time dot what get timer, I will get time, so that's the time. If it's greater than, if the current time is greater than or is equal to the end time, dot get what? Dot get time. What do you want to do? So that will end the exam. So what I will just do is to stop the timer. So I'll just clear. So I'll just clear interval. So you set interval, right? This time I'll just clear the interval. So it stops. So it set time interval stops running. So I'm going to clear it. I'm going to clear the interval, right? And then create an alert. Say exam. Let's say exam what ends. So this function is going to monitor exam. If the end time, if what you set as end time is equal to or greater than the current time, it will clear the timer and then end the exam, right? So what do you do? So let's refresh and see. Let's assume we're writing. So this is the end time. This is our timer. We're writing the quiz to an exam, right? And then this is the correct answer. We're still in the exam. So let's wait and see what happens when this current time is equal to the end time, right? So what do you do? See, exam ends. So that's exactly what we have actually achieved, which we have here. So one more thing I would like to do is to modularize our projects so that we take some of our services, we take some of this, so we use what we have in this quiz, in this our JavaScript. We'll use some of these functions and take it to our quiz services, right? Just like we did for reset, right? So I think I want to do that in a separate video. However, so we have actually